Hey everybody, Tim Norris here.
And Carmen Norris.
And welcome to another video of games you might not be playing.
But you should.
Today we're going to talk about Steam Park by Iello Games.
The game that answers the question, do robots use the bathroom? Be the owner of one fantastic Steam Park. You'll be assigned a vast area where you'll build gigantic rides to attract as many visitors as you can. By constructing the three-dimensional rides, you will see your park grow right before your eyes. Build stands to attract more visitors or toilets to keep dirt under control. Whichever approach you take, do it quickly. You will need to be not only the best, but also the fastest if you want to win at Steam Park. To start out the game, each player is going to have their player board, a pig board, 6 dice, and 6 bonus cards, of which you're going to choose 3.
Then to the side of the board, you're going to set up the final dirt track, dirt tokens, stacks of money to start the bank, bonus cards, addition tiles, and then down here we have the stands where we have 5 groups of 4.
Then you're going to put one of each different color visitor in the bag and separate the rest of the visitors by color. Then you're going to set up your stands. We have the pink princess house, the blue water slide, the purple octopus whirl around. We've got black haunted houses and red roller coasters and green, not really sure what those are.
I think it's a tree house and you wanted apples.
Then you're going to set up your turn track. Your turn track here, where a total of 6 rounds, you're going to take this little robot icon and put it on the number 1 to start the game. Then, down here in the center of the board, you're going to put the turn order markers. Depending on how many players determines how many markers will be in the game. If there's only 2 of you, you're going to take out the 2 and the 3, and only the 1 and the Z will be in play. Other companies need to take note of what Iello did with the components in this game, because they could have actually went with just flat pieces of cardboard that you lay down on your player boards, and you could have put your people on it. But the fact that they used 3D cardboard cutouts that you actually are placing your people on top, you can visualize your people actually like going through your haunted house or going around on your roller coaster, and it really brings the game to life.
The first action you're going to take on your turn is the roll phase. Everyone is going to roll their dice at the same time and quickly decide which one to keep and put on their board. Keep rolling. When you're happy with your results, you take a turn order marker.
Now that we're done with the roll phase, we go into the dirt phase. Let me show you what I mean. Come down here and take a look. Depending on what you rolled, you're going to acquire dirt. Notice that the person here and this one are different because the tent has a little circle here with like a speck of something. That means you're going to acquire dirt for this die. You're okay on the person and you're okay with the broom. But these 4 here all have that circle, which means I'm going to accumulate 4 pieces of dirt, 1 for each die. I'm also going to acquire dirt for how many visitors that I have in my park. So let's say if I had this 1 ride with 1 visitor, I would acquire an additional piece of dirt. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would go over here to the supply, pull that out, and put it next to my player board to show that I have 5 pieces of dirt. However, you can also acquire dirt depending on the initiative order. Carmen rolled her dice fast, and she was able to acquire the number 1 initiative order token, which this little icon up here means that she gets to clean 4 pieces of dirt up out of her amusement park. However, if I was stuck with the last player one, I would also accumulate 2 more additional pieces of dirt that I would have to add to my park.
So you can see quick thinking is a huge part of this game, and the turn order markers make a big difference. But I really don't like being penalized for being a slower player, so when we play a 2-player game, we usually use the 2nd and the 3rd turn order markers, and I enjoy it much better that way. Now it's time for the action phase, and this is where we're going to use our dice. The first action we can take is building rides. I have 3 build dice, so I can take the equivalent of 3 spaces. So I'm going to take this pink princess house with 2 spaces, and I'm going to take this blue ride with 1 space. Now, there are rules as to how you build these rides. You cannot put rides of 2 different color touching. They have to be separated by at least 1 square even if it's diagonal. They have to be separated by at least one square. Now let's say I went ahead and I took another pink ride. I can put the pink ride next to another pink ride if they are the same. In fact, you have to do this. You cannot build them separate if they are the same color. But you can build them, longer or next to each other. Now, another rule is that I could not decide, I want two of the same size. You cannot build two of the same size rides on your turn.
The next action we're going to cover is how to play your bonus cards. Take a look at my player board. For each one of these icons that I roll that shows like a shovel and a pile of coal, I can play one of my bonus cards. Let's take a look at them. The way that these work is that you just read the top. It says, for instance, number of green spaces in your park. So in this case, I'd want to build as many green rides as possible because depending on how many green spaces I have, depends on how much money I get, up to, as you can see, $11. You can also get money based upon how many icons of a certain, side you roll on the dice. So for instance, even like with that shovel and the coal icon, depending on how many I roll, I could get all the way up to $10. You can only play as many cards as icons you rolled, and once you do, you just pull the money out of the bank and add it to your play area.
Another action you can take is the visitor action. You see I have 2 visitors on my dice, so I'm going to get to choose 2 visitors of any color I wish. In this case, I'm going to choose 2 black because I have this black haunted house on my board. And we'll see if I can pull them out of the bag. You always pull out the same amount that you put in. So I pull out 2 visitors, and I do have 1 black visitor that can go on the black ride. Unfortunately, the pink visitor is going to go back over to the supply.
Now, depending on what you roll, you can also clean up your dirt. Let's take a look. These little broom icons that are on my dice right here allow me to clean up 2 pieces of dirt per die. So I've got 2 dice, I can clean up 4 pieces of dirt. Notice I have 7 pieces up here. I can pull 4 away and return them back to the general supply and out of mine.
Now there isn't a specific die for expanding your park, but that is one of the actions you can take on your turn. So I can use any of these dice that I choose. Let's say I don't want to build all 3 of these. I can use this to expand my park, and I can also use this to expand my park. You can get up to 2 expansions per turn, and you can place them on your board. Now the only rule to this is that you have to meet both of these spaces. You can't put it off to the side like that. So I'm going to expand twice, and I'm done.
Each one of the dice has a blank spot on one side. Take a look at it. Right here, this die, unfortunately, that I finished rolling, is not good for anything. I cannot use it for expansion or nothing. It's just put off to the side of the board and is useless for this turn, unless you had a tent, and we'll talk about that now.
When you roll a tent on your die, you can take a stand. I have 2 tents, so I'm going to be able to choose 2 of these stands and put them on my player board. Now there are rules to placing stands as well as the rides. You have to put them at least 1 square away from your rides and from each other. So I cannot put 2 of these stands next to each other. I cannot put them next to a ride, even diagonally. Now if I had 2 of the same type I could, but you cannot do that on the same turn. So I have to take 2 different rides and place them away from each other. Now let's talk about the different kinds of stands that you can get.
The casino tent is probably the most important tent in the entire game. What it allows you to do is you can change the results of any one of your die per tent. Very useful for getting initiative at the beginning of the game.
Now the toilet is the most important stand you can have. For each toilet that you have, it's going to double the effect of 1 broom die. So instead of cleaning up 2 dirt, it's going to clean up 4.
The info stand is the most important stand of them all. The info stand lets me ignore the color of my visitor and still allow him to be placed on any one of my ride spaces that's available. So for instance, this red visitor can be placed on this green ride. That way he'll count towards my income in the income phase. However, after that is done, he has to leave.
The promotion stand is the most important stand you can get. For each promotion stand you have, you can count 1 visitor on your die as 2.
Last, and deservedly least, is the security tent. We've yet to find a real good use for this one yet. What it allows you to do for each one of your tents is that whenever you draw out a visitor, and you don't care for the color, you can put him back in and then redraw. However, a lot of times we find we still draw out the same one. Nobody likes me. Here at GreyElephant Gaming, we do a lot of videos on a lot of board games. And you know, that could be very laborious to have to read through all these rule books. My wife and I, at times, sometimes, you read it. No, you read it. No, you read it. But this one was actually a pleasure and a joy to read because not only was it very informative and very well written, but it was very comical at the same time, which keeps your interest. One thing, though, that I'm going to point out is that you would have thought that the picture that they would have put in here would have followed the rules of the game. Can you find how many things are wrong? We did.
Finally, we have the income phase. For every visitor in your park, I have 2, you're going to get 3 denarii. So I am going to get 6. And now don't forget this step. Your income is how you win the game. After that, I'm going to see if I do not have a hand of 3 bonus cards, then I will draw 2, and then I will choose one to keep, discarding the other. And finally, we are going to take the round marker and move it up.
After the 6th round, the game is over, and each person then is going to pay a penalty depending on how much dirt that they had left over at the end of the game. The penalty is determined by this little chart right here, okay? What this is saying is that depending on how much dirt that you have listed over here in this column, you are going to pay this much money back to the bank. For instance, I have 9 pieces of dirt left over. I can then return that to the supply, but if you notice right here, 9 cost me $15. So I'm going to take $15 out of my income, return that then to the bank, and whatever money's left then, I can start adding up. However, there's one other thing too, just real quick, take a look at this. If you ended the game with 30 or more pieces of dirt in your play area, you automatically return all your money and you lose.
This game really reminds me of All Creatures Big and Small, because in All Creatures Big and Small, you want to put as many animals in your farm as possible. Max capacity every turn. In the same way, Steam Park, you want to have max capacity visitors every turn so that you get your revenue.
Yeah, but that just proves that the toilet is the most important stain in the game, because visitors equate to dirt, and if you can't get rid of this dirt, you're going to be penalized heavily at the end of the game.
Visitors don't always equate to dirt. All you need to do is get info points. You get those stands, you put the visitors in, and they go away before they even make dirt.
Yeah, but then the promotional tint combined with the info tint is the way to go, really, because the promotional tint allows you to maximize your dice by only spending 1 die for 2 visitors.
Well, talk about maximizing your dice. You gotta have the casino. Then you can change your dice to whatever you want. They don't give you dirt to begin with, and then you can just change them to whatever.
Seems like we're forgetting something.
No, I don't think so.
Nobody likes me.
The player who ends the game with the most money wins.
Well, thanks for watching this episode of Games You Might Not Be Playing.
But you should.
Now, Steam Park, when it arrived in the mail, I instantly looked at the back of the box, and I saw the components, and they looked absolutely gorgeous. But we have seen in the past, because we've got a lot of experience here playing games, gorgeous components do not always relate to gorgeous gameplay nor replayability.
And it's not just the components, let's face it, the idea is fabulous. I mean, I couldn't wait to play a game where you build your own theme park. But I was a bit worried that that novelty might wear off.
What we have found is that we've played the game around 15 times already, and I am ready to turn the camera off and sit down and play the game again. It is not worn off in the slightest, and the main reasons are because
there are many different strategies you can try. There's different bonus cards that you can try to get. There's different stands that you can focus on.
Like the security tent. But you made a comparison to Agricola All Creatures Big and Small. And that is a very valid comparison because you've got this little player board that you're trying to maximize the space on. This one does the exact same thing. But this one almost has a bit more strategy.
Just maximizing your space is not going to win you the game because you have to get rid of dirt.
Dirt will hurt. In this case.
That makes a huge difference in the strategy.
When we first started playing this game, we didn't realize just how bad the dirt hurt. And we were paying, I mean, it was like $36, $40 some odd dollars out of our pocket just to get rid of it at the end of the game. A hair's breadth away from just losing the game flat out. That's how close it was.
So you can look at your player board and think that you won because your theme park looks amazing, and then all of your revenue goes towards getting rid of dirt.
And I think that's where the joy and the replayability comes in, because you're going to maximize the stands and all of that to try to, try to get rid of as much dirt, but try to get as much money, to try to, yeah, the game is great, guys.
But I gotta tell you, just like all creatures big and small, at the end of the game, even if you lose, you're so proud of what you've built.
Aren't you? Aren't you? Because you see in your amusement park, you see your people on it.
Oh, yeah.
We've got very silly imaginations, and I actually envision my people riding on them and stuff, but, you'll do it your own way, and you may just look at it as just whatever, but I actually look at it, my people are enjoying what they're doing. They're enjoying going through the haunted house. They're enjoying going on the roller coaster, the water slide and all that.
And we're enjoying playing it.
Absolutely, and that's the most important part.
The value of this game is phenomenal.
Yeah, the value of it is great, and I think with the replayability, the gameplay, the components versus the cost, it is definitely a game we highly recommend. And in fact, I would almost say go as far as saying it's one of the best games we've played this year.
You should buy 2 of them.
Just in case you want to play it more than once. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.